Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Perfectly Imperfect Spiritual Podcast. I am Marta, Marta the medium, angel card reader, psychic medium, and your guide as we explore spirit, intuition, and the many ways we can live more connected and soul led lives. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, Amy Leigh Mercree. I first met Amy when she joined my How to Be a Psychic Medium virtual retreat, and it's a pleasure to welcome her back this time on the podcast. Welcome, Amy. I'm going to do a formal introduction in a second.
Thank you so much, Marta. I always love to chat with you, and I'm so excited I get to come back and talk to all of your wonderful listeners again.
I'm very excited as well. So, let me introduce Amy for those who are new to her work. Amy is a best selling author of 19 books, journals, and card decks. She's the creator of Atomic Healing, a holistic health expert, media personality, and a world renowned medical intuitive. She teaches internationally. Sharing Meteor Goddess guides, ancestral and karmic shamanism, spirit writing with the grandmothers of the seven directions, and the atomic healing method, medical intuitive certification. With more than 24 years of experience as a medical intuitive, Amy has supported thousands of people to uncover the root causes of health challenges and access the body's wisdom for healing. Her work combines spirituality and science, creating a bridge between the two. She has been featured in publications including, I'll name a couple, Glamour Magazine, Women's Health, Shape, Forbes, Mind Body Green, Opera Daily, and many more. Alongside her teaching, Amy is the author of well loved books such as Joyful Living, The Compassion Revolution, A Little Bit of Chakras, A Little Bit of Goddess, The Healing Home, and The Atomic Element Healing Oracle. Amy, welcome again. It's wonderful to have you here.
What a nice introduction. Thank you so much. And it's so nice to be here with you again, Marta.
Mm, I'm very happy and excited as well. So, to begin, could you share a little bit about your own journey? How did you first discover you had these gifts as a medical intuitive?
Sure. It started back when I was actually a child. So I used to, play outside in our yard and I would see what I called nature sparkles. And they were what I later started to call my atomic vision when I got to learn about like beginning chemistry in school, which was really fascinating to me. So I was always seeing the movement of elementals or what we might call particles. I always was seeing that. I kind of came in seeing those things. Now, as a child, I really didn't understand for a while that maybe not everybody saw that just off the bat. Everybody can, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
everybody didn't come in sort of with those glasses off or on or whatever. Um, and then when I did realize that, I didn't really think a lot about it. It was sort of just part of who I was. Time went on, and then when I was just 18, I was in college for education. I met my late medicine teacher, and she trained me as her apprentice in an oral tradition passed down from teacher to student for many, many generations. So then I got this incredible foundation and started to really have skills and abilities to work with shamanism and talking to spirit guides. So at 23 years old, I kind of opened up shop and started working with people. And now it's been, over 20 years. And so I've learned so much through working with thousands of clients and eventually started to call this atomic healing and the atomic healing method. But in the middle of all that, in between those 2 points, it was tons and tons of experience of learning how to look into the body, see into the body, understand what was happening in the body in the genes on a cellular level, on a subatomic level. I use a lot of traditional Chinese medicine concepts and Taoist 5 elements to work with the organ meridian systems as well to understand why things are happening in the body and how we can move into greater wholeness or prevent things before they happen. So it's been a really awesome way of like learning on the job for over 20 years. And I've just been so blessed to get to then teach this method, but also shamanism, channeling, automatic writing. I mean, I've taught so many things over so many years, and to write 19 books about these topics too. I've
Mm.
really been
You're
blessed.
definitely an expert on that. I know so many listening viewers, listeners will resonate with that. They feel intuitive nudges themselves, but maybe some of them aren't always sure how to trust them. I'm just curious what inspired you to move from using your gift personally to actually teaching others how to develop it.
Yes, it was, it was a progression. And for a lot of years, I was working as a medical intuitive and I was teaching shamanism. So I would teach
Mm-hmm.
beginning, intermediate, advanced, expert level shamanism. I still do sometimes. I have, people who've learned shamanic work with me for 15 years. Um, and teaching channeling, teaching what we call automatic writing, which is, channeled writing. Sometimes we call it spirit writing. So teaching people to talk to their spirit guides was a big focus for a long time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then people started to ask. For a long time, I had just private apprentices. So I'd have an apprentice, maybe two at a time, and teach them, everything I could. That was how my teacher taught me. And she was, steeped in her particular tradition. That was foundational for me in terms of all the shamanic. I happened to be somebody who was into the subatomic particle side and the science and stuff. So that
Mm-hmm.
was, something that over all these years I put together. I started to teach my apprentices, and then more people were asking to learn. So that's when I decided to create an actual certification, which it's a 9-month certification. So it's a long class where you learn, everything in my toolbox. You can be a brand new beginner, you can be somebody who's already working in the healing arts. We get all types, all levels. Either way, we go through, everybody's up to speed, and then you practice with each other too. You end up getting all those skills I used to teach before, plus the medical intuitive. So, beginning, intermediate, advanced, expert level shamanic work, how to channel, how to spirit write, automatic write, how to talk to guides, plus all of these things that I've learned about genes, gene mutations, the way we look inside of cells, what it means when we see things on a subatomic level, all the Chinese 5 elements, Taoist 5 elements parts, and how those go with the organ meridians. It's just a incredibly comprehensive class. We use a lot of neuroscience. It's kind of like all the 19 books I've written, all these years of experience, I put it into an actual complete 9-month curriculum. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing that's really fun about it is it's always tribes of soul family who get to take the class together because they do tons of partner work and really do graduate able to do what I do or their version of it, basically, because that's the other part, is helping people find what maybe they would specialize in. We know I like to specialize down to the little tiny level of subatomic. Some people do that too. Some people might specialize in other things that they're wonderful at. Sound healing, people who, go in through different kinds of avenues, but they get all the skill sets. How I'm also, an avid forager, wildcrafter. I like to, have a an apothecary of herbs for wellness too. So you get to learn how I do that from a shamanic perspective. It's so much fun to teach. I'm excited because it's coming soon, and I'm just like excited to teach it again.
Yes, and for anyone who feels maybe overwhelmed by so much knowledge
Right.
online and everywhere, well, when someone first joins your Atomic Healing Method medical intuitive certification, what can they expect in those first few weeks of the program?
That's a great question. And you really don't need to be overwhelmed because there's going to be people at every level. So the
Mm-hmm.
minute they join, they get access to this whole like awesome portal we have. So if there's somebody who likes channel messages and different things. There's tons of stuff to start with, meditations for your chakras, stuff like that. And then when we start, our first live class is October 21st. So that's when everybody gets together. That class has live, mandatory live attendance. Most of the other classes, you always get a replay anyways, but most of the other classes, if people can't make it, it's okay. Usually everybody realizes they want to be able to be there live as much as they can. So in those first couple weeks, you are getting the nuts and bolts of beginning shamanism. If you've done that before, you're deepening that. You're connecting with your partner. You're getting in alignment with the spirit guides and how to talk to them, the specific ones that you're going to work with in the beginning of the course. And then you
Mm-hmm.
start to build those skills. And then within the first month or so, you also start working with your partner in home play. And so the home play is, it's a fun word for homework basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a lot. It's, there's some partner work that you do here and there. And then there's some things that you do and some, reading and stuff you do at some point during the 9 months. And we're very flexible. Everybody always graduates. We make it very easy for you. But
Mm-hmm.
um, after those first few weeks, you're getting your feet wet and you're, getting used to shamanic journeying. You're getting to talk to your own spirit guides. You've met your partner, you've done some stuff in class together. Then you start working together. And then we start building on all of those skills with things like ancestral healing, karmic healing. You may have heard of shamanic soul retrieval, and I have some other things I do with that as well. We build some of those skills and everybody's working together, learning. I'm introducing you to the guides I specifically work with for medical intuitive work as well. So, kind of like increasing your spiritual contact list with high
Mm-hmm.
vibrational guides as well. And then we start working more and more, and it just builds. And I've had people of every level come in, people with zero experience who just feel the call. Sometimes it's people who are already exploring some of this stuff, like listening to your podcast. I mean, people who've read my books come in. They might be like, they read the book, a little bit of meditation, so they meditate a little bit, and then they're ready to expand and be able to really tap in to the non-physical universe, which is teeming with trillions of benevolent, helpful guides. And we work with a lot of the guides you've heard of for sure, but people also meet other guides that are specific for them too. We also do work with, in a very gentle, high vibrational way, ancestors who are on the other side, who are in a high vibrational place where they're functioning as spirit guides. Those beings come in too, and sometimes they become assistants for the way that the folks in the course are going to work with their clients. And I have some ancestors who assist me in my medical intuitive work. So we just, it's just like such, it's so much fun, and it's so exciting to me to get to see the expansion and just the mind opening that happens, and suddenly you're not alone anymore. If you ever did feel alone, you're like, wow, I've got all these guides that are always here helping. And
Mm-hmm.
to learn, potentially some people take the course because they want to use it as a new career. Some people take it because they want to use it on themselves and maybe their families. You have all these skills. Plus, by the end of the 9 months, you've had a few different partners. Everybody kind of knows each other. It's a relatively small, intimate class. So you have this whole tribe. They always stay in touch with each other every year. And I also run alumni events for everybody to meet each
Oh,
other from the different
that's nice.
years too.
I love it. And I love that you bring that component of joy, and that
Oh yeah.
completely changes the energy and the way we learn and absorb.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun.
It's
Uh,
supposed to be fun, and joy is the highest vibration in the known universe. That's one of the things they learn in the course. We use the energy of joy, the feeling of joy, the energy of joy, the intention of joy to heal the body, to raise the vibration of the body. So we
mm.
have to have fun. in their work.
Mhm.
Okay.
And what kinds of practices or tools do students usually find the most surprising as they move through the certification?
It's always fun to hear that because I talk to everybody after, about what they felt and what their favorite parts were. And um, it's interesting when you learn that they have a lot of really profound experiences when they get into their trading, when they work on each other. Um, a lot of times too, it's things where like a beloved grandparent or great grandparent comes in, and that's really moving. People also have it's very illuminating when they're working with their partners, and you're getting to know each other obviously, but in most cases it's not like they've known each other for a long time. So when somebody channels something through or shares something that they couldn't have known, and the other partner
Mhm.
is, just like so blown away and excited, it gives that practitioner, that future practitioner, a proof point, to really understand, wow, I am doing that. So the confidence that gets built, first they kind of go through the awakening, like looking around on new universe, like, and then they go through practice, and then they start moving into proficiency and eventually mastery. And that confidence is huge for people. So that's the other thing. It lets them see that non-physical helpers and spirit guides, high vibrational spirit guides, can be relied upon, that they can start to trust their guides and their intuition. And then they get even more steam to do this work, and to ultimately the point. And the reason I decided to teach was, A, people were asking, but B, it's a way that more people can raise their vibration. So instead of me working with everybody one on one, I only have so many hours in the day, and
Mhm.
I'm not, there are some practitioners who are just, like workhorses who can work with clients 40 hours a week. That is not me, because it's a lot, energetically and mentally to do that. So it lets me reach more people, and then everyone who's training gets to reach their people, so on and so forth. um, Another thing I do teach is, how do you modulate that as they start working? Because as they get further along into the course, that comes up. Some of us are highly sensitive people. We're empaths. I teach all of the safety side of it, the energetic boundaries, the way that we work with that, the way that we disconnect after, the way that we kind of like defrag our energy. There's so many fun components to it. But yeah,
Mm.
people get surprised when they are kind of like, wow, I'm doing this on a big level. Like they see something, they give somebody a piece of guidance that's deeply and profoundly resonant and transformative. It's sort of like fireworks going off in your brain, when you make a new synapse. It's confidence in the spirit world.
I love it.
Yeah.
One thing I hear a lot is, do I need to be born with these gifts? What would you say to someone listening who feels the nudge but doubts whether they could really do this work?
That's such a great question, Marta. Thank you for being such an awesome interviewer. First of all,
Oh, I'm enjoying our conversation.
you ask the best questions. Anybody can do it. So this is a fun example. We don't know, but the odds are probably high. When Jimi Hendrix was a toddler, if somebody gave him a guitar, he'd be able to do something with it. He was born with that probably. But I wasn't. But if I took guitar lessons, eventually I could play the guitar. So it's kind of the same thing. Everybody comes in with certain propensities. Whether or not that seems active, you can learn it. And everybody is intuitive. And that's the other thing. I guess everybody could be a guitarist, but everybody is meant to be intuitive. Our brains are actually wired for that. And we know there's such a large area of our brains that we don't really tap into, that we know of. some of it's for that. And that's why I do bring neuroscience into this course, because we want to activate those latent abilities in the brain and the rest of the energy body. Everybody's wired for that. We all have intuition. We all have gut feelings. We all have things that come to us. It's there. We just need a standardized, repeatable process and guidance to really take it to that level where it's like, oh, I am actually talking to spirit guides. I am actually receiving guidance. Everybody can do it. And that's my job, is to kind of, walk the students through that and much more. And it's such a gift to do. It's such a fun job to do.
What has just popped into my mind, I'm just curious, how do you equip your students? How do your students build confidence in listening to their guides? That's one thing, but also learning how to listen to their bodies um, as a first thing in order later on to be able maybe to tune into their clients' bodies. I'm just curious about that process.
That's a great question. And that's definitely what we do. Like, you start with yourself in the course, and then you are working with your partner pretty early. So you're getting that little bit of practice. But as you're tuning in with yourself, you're working on, specific things. Like, we get into the ancestral and the karmic, and I view that from the shamanic perspective. So I teach you the shamanic side. I also teach you the Taoist traditional Chinese medicine side. There's a lot of different components to it. But as you start to get into the body, you do use yourself as a test subject, 100%. Because a lot of the journeys that I have everybody do later on, going into different systems and like really experiencing them, like jumping into your lymphatic system, how you do that, how you move with it, how you tune into it, and how the things you look for to tune it up, whatever system we're working on, you start to learn how to tune into yourself. So as people are going through this process, they are typically noticing, understanding things about themselves, including their body and their wellness, and how they're going to put those things into practice, and also listening, because a lot of times what people say is some things are coming up that in those first weeks, as we get going, that they kind of already had an inkling of, and they weren't listening. So a big part of it is learning to listen, pay attention. That was always like a big thing with my medicine teacher. And when you'd get like a little tone in your ear, it would mean pay attention, pay attention to what you're already in the background of your mind chatter and everything. We have our inner witness who knows everything anyways. So when we lean back into that, it's already all there. So it filters through, I think, into our conscious time, and people often just aren't listening to it. So
Mm.
that's a big part. And we do, in this class, you work on yourself quite a bit in all these different capacities. So people also get a real medical intuitive tune up. And then you have your partners too.
I love it. And for those who complete the certification, what kind of opportunities often open up afterwards?
So they get to join my practitioner page if they want, and they get to use it. We do also provide some support in terms of if you are starting a business. So you get to hear from my legal counsel, the people who build the back end, of my site. There's some business stuff I have people do, and some abundance stuff I offer. So we get everybody like in alignment if they want to go forward being an atomic healing method practitioner. So some people are doing just that, and then some people are adding it to other things they do. A lot of people are using it and building their business with it, and then some of them might be doing that full time because maybe they also already did some things, and then some of them have like other jobs and they build their side business, and eventually they're able to transition to just doing healing work. I do also get people who are in the healing arts doing hands-on body work and are getting to the point where they're ready to move into more of a distance model, just because it's, a little bit easier on the body. So those people also are able to do that, because then they can integrate those two and then slowly move to a different model if they desire, in whatever way. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are using it with customers, and they're also using it themselves with their family, their friends, and a lot of them stay in touch with their partners too. So they keep trading and sharing, which is nice.
I love it that you can use it professionally, but you can
Yeah.
also use it for your own personal
Yes.
needs and for those around you. What would you say? Well, what makes this certification unique, and what's the most empowering part of becoming a certified medical intuitive through your
Ah,
method?
yes. It's definitely unique because my method is not typical. Um, and it's unique also because there's so many pieces to it. There's a lot of science involved, but it's always fun. It's never intimidating. And it's unique because it does take you down to that subatomic level. It's also unique because we do use TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, which some people do, but not as it's not as common in the medical intuitive world unless somebody's exclusively doing that. So it's unique because I combine the Taoist, the shamanic, some elements of Vedic as well. I've written a lot of books on chakras over the years, so there's some Vedic elements we utilize, and then all of the science and the spirituality being bridged. It's also unique because it's an experiential class. I teach you a lot of information. I have there's a bit of required reading that's not a large quantity, and there's a lot of suggested reading you can do over time, even over the years as you're building. But it is a uniquely experiential class where you really practice. Almost every week you're practicing in different ways. So the empowerment is coming out like I just journeyed, channeled, and healed myself and other people for 9 months. And I know I can now do this. And that's where I want everyone to come out. And they do. They know they can do this for themselves and for others because they've had so much training and so much practice.
Mm, I love it. And as we are getting towards the end of the interview, I still would like you to ask about, well, could you share a story of how one of your students has transformed through this certification? I know that every single student
Oh,
transforms and has breakthroughs, but anything that you would love to share that will inspire our viewers and listeners to make that decision if they're still hesitating whether they should join your certification.
absolutely. Yeah, there's so many different transformations. I have a student who works with animals as a veterinarian, a past student, and she's just been having fantastic results applying some elements of this to the animals, but then she's also transitioning things to now working with people, which is real. I think really fun because think of the diversity. I've always enjoyed over the years, I've had many clients have me work on their pets when they're having a session with me. I've never advertised that. But we do now have a little module, like a little component in the course about that, because you will get that question. People will ask you to work on their pets. And so it's kind of neat to see her applying these skills there, but then she's also moved into working with people quite a bit. So that's a fun transformation of somebody who got to apply it in an existing field. But there's so many people too who have taken the course and now they're doing like their sort of side business as a healer and growing it, which is fun because a lot of people come into this really for the meaning because it is a path of service. When I was 23, I kind of did a ritual where I committed to spirit to serve, and obviously that is for the highest good, so it's helping all, including me. But I did commit my life to serving spirit at that point. And it's not a heavy commitment, but when you do work like this to some degree, whether it's just for yourself or maybe your friends, or if you do take it wider, it is a beautiful privilege to get to do this work. As you know, it is a path of service. And I love to share that with all of my students because it's made my life so meaningful, and it can for others too. And then we're contributing and raising the vibration of humanity in our own little ways, and that's a whole nother thing that gives us meaning and purpose.
I love it. Thank you. Because it is so much more than the certification. It's about being of service, raising vibration. Could you remind the viewers and listeners, like for anyone who just feels the nudge, I want to join it, can they already enroll, or when do you
Yeah,
open enrollment?
we're
When?
open. We are open. So we start first class is October 21st. So you can enroll up till October 20th. Marta will have a link in her show notes. I think that's a great place. And you can, on that link too, on the page, there'll be spot to click and book a discovery call. If you have questions, you get to chat with me for 20 minutes and ask all your questions, because I like to meet everybody before. You don't have to have a discovery call, you can
Mhm.
enroll if you're ready, but it's fun to meet everybody before, especially if I haven't met you yet, if you haven't worked with me yet, if you're brand new. It's nice to connect and
I
ask
love it.
questions.
I love it. Well, Amy, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story and for sharing so much information about your certification and the incredible work that you do. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you, and I'm so glad to get to chat with you. You always ask the best questions, and to talk to all your listeners and get to connect.
Thank you. And for anyone listening who feels called to learn about Amy's atomic healing method, medical intuitive certification, as Amy has mentioned, yes, I'll include the link in the description of the podcast. Or if you'd prefer, you can DM me the word atomic healing on Instagram or email me, and I'll send you the link directly. And as always, thank you, beautiful souls, for tuning into the Perfectly Imperfect Spiritual Podcast. And if you'd love today's conversation, make sure you subscribe or maybe pass that information about the certification to anyone that you feel might benefit from that information. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.